Today I'll show you how to make a rebounder that's equally good with hooks as it is with balls. And I'll give you an update on this stick protector that I've worked on. Not much damage and it's being used all the time. Interested? Here we go. For this build, you use two 36-inch long bungees. Originally, I had the bungees side by side like this, and the problem with that, you could either optimize it for the puck or the ball, but you couldn't do both, and there was this big gap, and then occasionally the ball would go through. So I came up with an idea. I narrowed that section down by cutting along the sides. See, now it's about half the distance. This bungee is not the round ones, but the flat one. It's a 15 millimeter or pretty close to 3/4 inch. So doubling it down like this makes it 1.5 inches with a slight gap. Put a stitch in there so that these bungees work together. You can see this little line here, cut and sanded right to that edge. I put silver markers on one side because if you twisted the bungee, then you would have to redo the side. So there we go. Now the next thing is, how am I going to fuse these things together? And so I think I'm going to rapid fuse them. We'll try that first, and if it doesn't work, we'll come up with another idea. And then I'm thinking I'll use some cable ties here and here to reinforce it. Get the rapid fuse out. Don't put too much on there. So you just want to kind of make it wet and uniform all the way down. And the great thing about rapid fuse, unlike super glue, is that you can kind of move it and reposition it a little bit before it finally takes. In order to hold it in place, I'm going to use some 8-inch cable ties. And I'm just going to go right here where the little bumps were on either side. Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good about that. I think I'm going to just cinch those two down, and I think that might be all I need. You don't need one of these tools, but they all certainly come in handy for jobs like this. And then you just cut it off nice and flush. And you want to follow it all the way down because you don't want to twist one of the bungees. Check it one more time to make sure it's all in alignment. And then fuse it down. Hold it for about 30 seconds and then put the cable ties on. When we tried this out for the first time, we were finding that this gap here, the balls and the pucks were going through there, not all the time, but enough to make it a pain. So I came up with this idea that I would tie off 5 locations, starting in the center, and then 3.5 inches from here to here on either side, and then another 3.25, almost 4 inches for here. The whole idea is to keep the ball from going through. Now to tie this thing off, I used heavy-duty upholstery thread and these heavy-duty needles. They're relatively cheap, and I use them for all sorts of different crafts. I marked off the locations with silver Sharpie or silver marker so that they would contrast with the bungee, and I lined it up real nice and flat so that these would be relatively straight. And you just want to continue the gap from the end, no more or no less, as best as you can for here. So when it stretches out, the ball or the puck's not going to go through there. At least that's what we're thinking. Now to make the frame to keep the bungee in place so that you can sew it, all I did is I took a longer paint stirrer and I made 2 5-inch planks. Just cut that down from the paint stirrer. Getting 2 large black clips. You're going to ask me what? These are 2-inch black clips. So I bring it up here. Oh, yeah, another project going out of the way. Okay, so and then I just sandwich the bungee between here, and that helps me just kind of get it in alignment. And then I use the black clips to hold the sandwich in place. It also gives me a nice little stand on which to work on. Alright, so let me show you how I did the stitching on this. So I'm just going to basically run it through the center of this silver area. Punch it through. And then pull it taut. Okay. And make sure you don't have any loops or anything. Now I'm going to come through and do like an angle. And then punch it through again in the center here. As straight as possible. Okay, make sure that distance is fixed. Bring it through like this. Pull it all the way down. And so you basically have this X. You can see this X right here. That's what you want. And that's going to help you keep that distance. So pull it tight, and then the next time you come through, I'm just going to loop it around once. You can actually knot it. Just put a overhand knot in it if you desire. So now you have a little knot in the middle of that X. And then you just repeat that a bunch of times. Trying to keep that distance the same. Push it through. Again, you're just trying to establish the offset distance to keep balls or pucks from going through the two bungees. Now most of these arrangements, that these rebounders, don't have this ability to do both balls and pucks. In fact, I don't think I've ever seen a ball bungee. I'm sure they exist. $4.75 for the two bungees. Okay, so you come over here. Let's see if I can do this. And then do one loop, two loop. If you can, do three. Pull through like that. So like a bunch of half hitches. And then pull that tight as you can without breaking the cord. And the cord's really tough because it's upholstery cord, right? And that's one of the reasons why you're using it. And you've got that all knotted and locked off. Then just take your scissors. There you go. You do want about 6 inches on either side here, because I'm thinking about maybe somehow wrapping those around like this. Around a post. Haven't quite figured that out yet. You'll see it by the end of the video. And then the same on this side, about 6 inches, to do a similar thing wrapping around the post. So I've got two 36 inches long, 500-pound paracord. You could probably go with 95 or somewhere in the middle, but I wanted it to be obvious because this is going to be part of the kit in their hockey bags. You want to make it so that they don't forget it, or if it was left behind and you're going to search for it, it's pretty obvious. A lot of the floors and hockey rinks are black. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take this 36 inches of paracord and we're going to make a double fisherman's knot. And the great thing about this knot is that it's adjustable. I'm going to start with 36 inches of paracord. I might have to go with a little bigger version, but you can see how it just kind of, it's tight and it slides, and then if you want to lock it off for the bungee, that's what I'm going to do to wrap around other things. So let's show you how to make a double fisherman's knot. First thing you do is you take two ends and put it together. You want to leave the smallest amount of tail as possible. So you're going to go underneath like this. Okay, then you cross over, and then you come around here like this. And if you have to adjust it a little bit, that's fine. And then you put this working end through the X. And then just play with it a little bit and get that tightened. And you can see that that's nice and loose, but yet strong here. We'll do it around here one more time. So we're going to go underneath and make the loop, come around the loop again, like this to the bottom, and then you're going to go through that X, that top X, through the one side, down the other side, and then just pull it tight like that. Play with it a little bit. There you go. Double fisherman's knot. These are used in all sorts of builds that I make because they're so strong. It's a great climbing knot. You could do a triple fisherman's knot on both sides, and then you can, like I said, lock it off that way for the maximum length, or you can shorten it up for virtually any size length that you want. So I actually might make a 4-foot long version of this to see which one I like better, but it will basically be made exactly the same way. So I rechecked it, and the maximum length is about 15 inches. So that means for a 36-inch rope, 3 inches on each one of these knots. And then my whole idea here is that you could loop this around a post, and then you could lock in this right here, and you can adjust the tension with this static line paracord. So the next thing we need to do is go outside and test this thing and see how it works. Here's the setup. I've got a green bungee on top, and that's basically for the hockey puck. I've got the blue bungee that I made stitched together in the middle, and that's for the balls. And then this is kind of to keep the balls from going over the top. They've all been tensioned up, and I'm using the longer red cords to hold the whole setup. This is just on a portable workbench, but you could use stools, you could use anything, and it would work the same way. So let's see how this guy does. It really does work well. Nice response. With the balls too. This setup works for tennis balls. That's a little softer bounce, obviously. I've got the cardboard because of the hockey pucks. You could do it on concrete or blacktop. There's just too much friction for those guys. And here is the stick protector. You can see that it's rubbed down a little bit, but not too much. I'll post up there in the corner a link to how you can make one of these for well under $1. Just comes right off like this. I don't want to take it off because I want to use a little bit more. And I've actually taped this one. You could actually just do this portion because you can see here there hasn't been any rubbing or damage whatsoever. Pretty happy with this and pretty happy with this build. You could use the weights if you were having stools. You could have 2 stools about that distance or any kind of distance. It could be shortened up. Thumbs up and comments always appreciated. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more videos on sports, or check out my channel. I have a lot of builds for golf, tennis, pickleball is coming soon. I'm just trying to introduce my kids to all sorts of different sports so that we can enjoy time outside and inside and keep in shape.